Hello, welcome to the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship meeting for May 8th. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we accept Don's minutes from April 24th, 2025?
Correction, it should be April 10th.
Oh, is it the 10th?
Was the meeting that didn't,
Oh, right, April 10th. So can we accept the minutes Don wrote for April 10th, 2025?
Wonderful minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Doing a good job.
All right.
careful.
So
Bad side.
I'm gonna, change the order. Gary, do you have any harbor master announcements?
We're opening up on, I think it's the 23rd. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but
May?
yeah, another
That's
couple of
Memorial
weeks.
Day.
And the Friday before Memorial Day. And we're a little short on inspectors this year, but I've got one gal I'm interviewing tomorrow and I'm pretty sure she's going to come on and the other inspectors will pick up the slack. There's been some talk at DCR about a program that they have on computer where you can ask questions instead of like we're doing on paper.
Okay.
I told DCR over the winter, we'll be happy to try it out. It sounds a little bit too cumbersome for me though.
Okay.
But so, and other than that, nothing.
This is a procedure for what?
For when people come in, you know, where have you been and things like that. But it was about a dozen questions to ask, and on a busy Saturday or Sunday afternoon, it's just not time for all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Michael.
So any questions for Gary? No. Okay, seeing none. Shall we talk about, since Michael Canales is here, he can answer questions about dredging or any other questions you might have about the harvesting permit. If that would be okay with you, Ms. Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, kick on up. So shall we start with harvesting?
Or no, Michael, whatever you want to start with.
So I'll just quickly go over the dredging first.
Okay.
So for the dredging, obviously coming out of winter, so not a lot happened. I know they did file with the Conservation Committee about the isolated vegetation in Bullard Woods. Waiting to hear final report back on that. We are going to do the test pits up at the Bullard Woods first, probably within the next couple of weeks. Where we will be determining if there's ledge that would prevent the setting of the geotubes. If it's shown that we can use Bullard Woods for the setting of the geotubes, the initial investigation of archaeological significance has come back that that area was used. So they're going to have to do the actual ground search. They're going to actually have to do a search up there for artifacts in that area. So we're going to move on to phase 2 of the archaeological assessment. If all these fall into line, then that land becomes available for the location of the geotubes. So that's where we're at. This should all be happening over the rest of May, June, and July.
Okay.
And then we move on to the next pieces. But all three of these have to pass in order to move to the next steps. I wasn't sure, Sally, if you had any, as far as the vegetated wetland.
I think we passed it. I think we're signing it this week.
All right,
Yeah, I thought David Cameron
David-
did over and he,
David reviewed it. Then GZA wanted to modify his suggestions. And they did, and David went over it again and we accepted it and we voted to issue the acceptance of the delineation. It just needs to get signed and mailed, or signed and handed in this case.
right. So I would expect, I'm going to get notification shortly after that, that we've cleared that hurdle. And then we have the 2 remaining hurdles.
You'll have it by
to
Thursday
do.
next week.
So, like I said, they'll proceed with the test pits in the next 2 to 3 weeks and then on to the archaeological assessment and then next steps. Everything's still on target for what we originally had planned. And I will keep the boards advised as the data comes in, and then I can actually share documents that say, here's the findings. So those should be coming later in the summer.
All right, so if the test pits are bad, then it doesn't matter about the archaeological.
Right, there's no reason in spending the money on the archaeological assessment if the test pits are bad, so, yeah.
The test pits are for ledge.
For much specifically, they have to be able to, they're basically gonna cut into the bank. So if the bank's like this, they're gonna cut and create pyramid-like steps. Then you set the geotubes in, refilling, and then when the geotubes deteriorate and the rest, you get your bank back. And then you have to put dirt above it and you basically reform the bank. But they have to be able to create those ledges to set the geotubes on. And if there is bedrock or something else that would prevent that from happening, then they can't use that area. And then we have to go back and start over again as to what we're gonna do.
Now, you originally said 3 years, so we're looking now 2 years out for
We're
starting.
still on target for, summer of 2028 if,
Hallelujah.
if everything can there's still a lot of questions about funding, everything else, but so far we haven't fallen behind on any of our expectations.
How are they going to find out about the ledge?
So we'll be digging with an excavator, digging small holes down 10 feet and making sure that we don't hit ledge, and
It's gotta be there.
yeah. So they'll have to do a bunch of small little test pits. They'll dig those and then they'll put the dirt right back in and go from there. So, yeah.
And are they anywhere near any sort of resource area?
It'll have to be right in that resource area there. So,
What do you mean by resource area?
it's within it's in the area where the geotubes are proposed to go. But they're only test pits, so I believe I'll double check with Nat as far as what they have to do. They're gonna be small holes that are just dug down and then you immediately refill the hole. So you're just confirming that you can actually go down 10 feet. So. I will have Nat touch base with the Conservation Committee as far as,
That'd probably be a good idea.
yeah. Yeah. But I know it falls on, I'll make sure, I'll have them touch base with you.
Just so we know where they're going, because they're going to have equipment to do that,
Yeah,
We might have to get permission from Tanglewood to get into the lower meadow.
yeah, and we would reach out to them and I'll just access it through that.
The head of the grounds is good. Kevin, Kevin Foran?
I don't know. I know, is it Ryan? I went down and met with him in Boston, so I actually am not, I met one of them on a recent site visit up at the grounds, the guy in charge of grounds.
Yeah, well, we can get to him quick.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
there are wetlands down in the Tanglewood area too, so.
Yeah. There's also the chance that we might have to rent one of those smaller excavators you see, which are, those littler ones to get in that location. So we're working on finalizing that.
Okay.
So, yeah. The harvesting, as far as the harvesting permit is going before the Conservation Committee. It's been filed with DEP. DEP's already given its saying that everything's satisfactory and Natural Heritage has already confirmed that they are okay with the 7.9 acres being increased to 9.7. So that approval has already been received by Natural Heritage. So all we're waiting on now is approval from the Conservation Committee.
Which is this week.
I haven't
right?
seen anything from Heritage. Did you get
It's right in
something?
the NOI. It's page 27 and 28. It's 1 and 2 of the correspondence. Robin sent you a thing noting that it was right in there. One of the things that they said is they still want to keep we still have to do the GPS location in the annual report. If we went to change either of those, they would have to do a full review. So the letter specifically says all other determinations and conditions will remain in full effect. So, and every year I've submitted, it's not a big deal. The harvest operators do a great job of running the GPS. I download the report and then I submit a report on what was done at the lake with all the information that I have. And every year Natural Heritage has been fine with it. So that's it.
Mike, I have a question. Is there, besides those two agencies, does any other agency have to?
Nope.
And HESP doesn't have to?
Natural heritage.
That's
is-
heritage.
That's a natural,
Yeah.
I've been working with them for years. I just went over my head. Thank you. Wow.
It's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So both agencies
Yep.
have given, oh, okay, that's good news. I was very, okay, thank you very much.
Conservation approval.
All right.
Which is,
Is there
Yeah.
going to be another public meeting? 'Cause we all got, any of us on the lake got a,
The
That's
public
certified
meeting is
mail.
Tuesday,
that's on Tuesday, but
Yeah.
did it say when it was?
7:00.
here at Town Hall.
They don't
Okay.
tell you.
Okay.
They don't
Didn't
tell
tell
you.
you in the letter, yeah.
They tell you that it's going to be heard. It's
Okay.
advertised in
But
the
it's
Eagle.
it's your meeting.
Yes, it's our meeting.
Okay, why don't they just say that?
So it happened.
Bill will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Everything's on
happens,
track to be get done.
it happens, it gets advertised in the Eagle.
Right.
It gets posted, the agenda gets posted downstairs, and that's all that
Okay.
has
Why
to
don't they just
happen.
say it's gonna be-
So if anybody is if I may say, if anyone's interested in helping drive the harvester, let me know.
Yep.
We're gonna need a part-time person, twice a week for maybe 2 hours at a time, 4 hours, 6 hours a week. That's, all right.
Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't have to face with you on how many we
Yeah,
have this season.
yeah, well, yeah.
What
We
about that
lost
man that helped you last year? Wasn't there?
Peter.
Yeah,
Peter can't do it this year.
okay.
But what happens is the big part of the lake, really, those issues come in end of June, July is when that starts blooming. What starts blooming already at the end of May is south of the island.
Yeah.
So, so we're going to need someone mainly from middle of July through September.
Yeah, it's a part-time
If
position.
anybody's interested,
Bruce
see, what?
Is Bruce Rubin still?
Oh, I'll ask him, but Moose said he might be
Yeah,
interested, but I
yeah.
didn't want
Yeah.
to burden him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get paid a little bit of money, get to drive the harvester around, covered under our insurance and the
Water
rest.
skiing.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you get a retirement.
You get a tan, right?
Yeah, you get that little bit into that little
Yeah.
more time. thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we still have two harvesters or only?
We have two harvesters, but we've only been using one.
Yeah,
And we're only going to continue to use one?
we're only gonna
Yes.
continue to use one. Yep.
Because it's expensive, isn't it? Because the expense to bring it down to the lake, or was it?
My understanding also, there's just no need to be running two,
Okay.
having it on the lake. We have the other one ready just in case. We've had to use it in the past, but if the other one's running and fine, then that's the one that we operate.
So
So
the small one actually works really well.
Any qualifications for harvester drivers? I mean,
Sane.
I don't know.
Do you have to,
Driver's license?
do you have to live in Massachusetts boating
Right.
That's
force?
that's-
Yeah, don't flip it.
Yes, I was just gonna say, there is gonna be a requirement coming out and we are gonna have to pay attention to that coming up in the next couple of years.
what's that?
We're all at the table, we won't have to get it till either 28 or
Requirements.
29, it's like 3 years.
3 years, yeah, yeah, they're gonna require a license, yeah.
Any,
Right now, you don't. A driver's license, go out on the water, we need to make sure, Mike's taking people out to teach them. and
So,
see if they can-
yeah, I mean, I gladly teach anybody to,
You have to have the universal license.
so Sally, if you're interested,
No.
we need equal,
Very
The
much.
main thing is slow and steady, right, Mike? Slow and steady.
Slow and very
Did you say low?
slow.
No, but low also, that's the
Yeah.
iron, that's what tipped it over.
We've heard that back
The
from.
back was up.
Oh, I thought it was because they're going too fast.
No,
okay.
the weight,
Got tippy.
yes.
So do we have any other questions of Michael about harvesting?
Or dredging, sounds good.
So how
Summer,
about,
I'll be back with a report, and at that time, I'll probably by midsummer, mid to late summer, I'll have a report on the test pits, I'll have a report on the archaeological. Obviously, if we run into a snag, I will inform the boards, both the select board and this board immediately. if we run into something that disqualify Bullard Woods.
If you get, can you, let us know when they're gonna do it, if you get an advance?
Yeah, GZA will have to coordinate everything as far as getting equipment up there, doing the pits and the rest, so, yeah.
And then Don had a question about
I
a
did.
budget.
Yes, I did.
Actually, can I have Michael one more? Or
So if you
after that?
have a question, Don, this would be a good time to ask.
Well, thank
The
you.
best time, because we've already submitted the budget, so.
Right.
The budget for the stewardship committee is the limnology, annual limnology and testing of the lake that's been done for years. If there was something else you were looking to do,
Well, my questions about budget were severalfold. First of all, budget for the dredging project. Okay, it's in the future, it's some years away, but there has been I've received questions and I had my own questions of how it strikes me that it's going to be a lot of money and where is that going to come from? And yeah, no,
so right now.
now we think about it now versus, okay, we're all ready to go, but we don't have any money for it.
Well, the money, we have the money set aside from CPC funding that went to the SBA. Then there was also a couple articles of free cash appropriations the last couple of years for dredging funds. So we have the engineering money that's going to take us through next fiscal year already in place.
Excellent.
Further work beyond that, we're going to have to go for additional funding for the engineering work. When we get to a point that once we confirm Bullard Woods and the rest, one of the things we'll then begin getting to 25 and 50% construction. Then you get a cost estimate done. And then the cost estimate will say, okay, at this time, we're looking at X price.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we're at the end of the permitting, but we're getting close to it. Because to be honest, if you got pricing from 2 years ago, it would be irrelevant right now. So probably, we're probably talking not this winter, probably the winter after of getting a decent price. And then we have to really think about where we're going to secure the funding. One of the things we were hoping would be continued, it was done with ARPA funds, was the inland dredging grant. The state did it with state ARPA funds and funded it for 1 year, and the program's been canceled. So that program's gone.
Okay.
So right now, there is no funds available at the state or federal level that I'm aware of for dredging of inland lakes. MVP can only be used to cure, you have to come up not only with the dredging, but you have to, the only way you can put it under the municipal vulnerability plan is it would have to address the silting and the, how to prevent the buildup of sediment forward. Because the MVP is all about prevention. It's not about fixing past issues. So the only way to get some of the money toward that, you would have to address the water that's coming in, that's bringing silt and other stuff. And then, of course, we also have the bio breakdown and the rest that builds the sediment at the bottom. So right now, last year they test that one, it was $2 million they had set aside. We put in to get us some engineering, our engineering to try to stretch our engineering money out. We didn't get approved. We were going to reapply this year. And like I said, they canceled the inland dredging program. So, we'll keep our eyes out open for funding opportunities that come down. But right now, I'll tell you, counting on anything.
Well, I'm sorry.
I was at a FFIO meeting and there was a woman, Michaela, and I asked about grants for dredging and she didn't know of anything.
Can you not make a case that the harvesting in and of itself helps to prevent siltation?
Takes biomass out.
It takes a huge amount of biomass out. It isn't going down to the bottom of the lake,
Sally,
rotting.
unfortunately, I agree with you 100%. This is my thing. And also, it only takes it out when we do the last cutting. In other words, for the first time last year or the year before, they allowed us to keep the harvester in past, it used to be taken out Labor Day. But Hugh has allowed us to do a cutting at the end of September when the lilies no longer will grow back. So the key is to get them, but we can only do X amount of acreage.
Right.
To really make a difference, I really believe we should really be taking them all out one last time at the end of the year so they don't grow back. So none of that decomposes and becomes the silt that makes up almost all of the silt that's in the lake, that's in the outlet.
Well, that's just the outlet though.
Yeah, no, but the lilies have greater mass than
But the lilies are native.
no, we're just talking about, yeah, but they're native, but they're also a nuisance also. So there is a provision, I believe, that if it overruns the outlet, I'm a little bit, you can probably tell me more, but I've read, you can sort of control nuisance vegetation.
No.
You can't?
No.
No, I can't.
So the only way you can
'Cause it's
cut
native
more severe
vegetation.
than what we do is you would have to go for a permit above the 10 acres, which then,
I don't want to go above 10 acres.
and up to 10 acres allows you to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
But beyond that, to get more, where we can do more cutting and more clearing of any natives or the rest, you'd have to prove all, whether or not we could even get it, unknown, and typically they only grant those for invasives. So
Right.
you're allowed to do 10 acres and that's it.
So
Yeah.
right. So I'm saying within what we can do,
Yeah.
it's still a little bit limited of how much vegetation would make a difference. is what
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
saying.
you'd have to, establish the
Yeah,
It's an
catch
interesting,
basin in the Lily Pond.
well, it's interesting that the state says you can only harvest 10 acres.
regardless of the
Takes
size.
no consideration in
Yeah.
the size of the lake. You know,
That's weird.
there's some lakes that are less than 10 acres. So like Cheshire Lake, you can pretty much harvest the entire lake at 10 acres, and that's a much smaller lake than the Stockbridge Bowl. So, the relative size of lakes, but they don't do it by percentage. Some point they came up with 10 acres is the maximum that you can do where you can just harvest and that's it.
Getting back to monies, understanding that the SBA collected money for dredging.
Yes, and I've worked with the SBA and Pat, and we're combining the SBA CPC money
Great.
with the money that the town received to get all the engineering done. So we don't have to ask for any additional money. So the money is secured for 2026 to get the engineering done. We have the money in this budget to do the limnology and the rest under the SBSC's budget. So those things are all taken care of for our water testing, everything else. So we have all money in place for 2026. We will have to ask for additional funding for 2027.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anything else for Mike?
Not me.
No, just one quick, any update from the state about the lake management plan?
So they received,
I know they
they
received-
have the lake management plan.
Haven't heard back
To
yet.
me, we, it's there. It's not going to be an issue until we go for the final permits. And then at that point we will push. I do have a complete listing of all the emails that have been sent to them from GZA requesting updates on the plan from them. Just understand that until we submit it for approval, it's at their discretion. And at some point we will be submitting it for approval, which then will give them a ticking clock on approving it. But at this point, we only submitted it for comment and that's theirs. But it's not anything that's holding us up at this point. Nothing else. They wanted it in place when we go to do multiple things. And I think as we've already expressed is that when we do the dredging itself, if the dredging is able to be done, we would probably not harvest that year if that helps with the permitting process. If they say there's too much disruption in the lake, then there's a good chance what'll happen is that year there'd only be dredging.
Mhm.
Michael, thank you.
Yeah.
But the dredging isn't going to be done at the same time as the harvesting, right?
The dredging is going to take place over 9 months plus. So
Okay.
you're going to lose a seat.
You're gonna lose
You're not going to
something.
lose a seat, but there'll be the dredging happening. It's not, you're when it freezes completely over, you're not hydro, doing it. So, it's gonna be, there was even some talk, I know, Mike, you were in that it could end up going into 2 seasons as far as. We want to hope to avoid that.
Yeah.
But if it was this year, it was frozen pretty good. If it was last year, the lake never froze. So, so how soon somebody could have started is a little bit dependent on the weather, when we can get in and get started, and then when it begins to freeze over, when we can get it done.
What
The
would,
target is to do it in 1 season, but you wouldn't lose a season of harvesting, and there'd be disruptions on the lake during it for 1 season.
Yeah, I mean, are people gonna be able to put docks in?
Oh, yeah.
They'd be able to put docks in, but there'll be the high, depending on where they are in the lake, there's gonna be coordinated areas. They'd have to put buoys out showing areas where boats aren't allowed within and the rest. It will be disruptive for a year. There's, and let's not sugarcoat it. There's gonna be 1 full season of very much disruption on the lake, if we're able to pull this off. So I don't want to paint any illusion that it will be a difficult year on the lake for 1 season, but it's for the next,
Have to happen.
40, 50 years. So,
Didn't bother you when you were.
but
No, I didn't know.
the basic schedule is over the summer.
Docks are.
over a season that the lake would be open, unfrozen. Yeah,
Okay.
you're talking, yes.
Starting.
It could go into October, November.
Yep, and you might be able to start earlier than March depending on the winter. So
Mhm.
it a little bit dependent, but what we want to target is a single season. Getting in, getting it done, getting it out, and then have the lake back and not have to worry about it again for, like I said, well beyond everybody's lifetimes. And that before it has to be thought of again. So,
Sounds good.
yeah,
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
yep.
Pat, did you have anything to share? No. Okay.
No,
Um,
I was just unmuting myself. No, I think Mike covered it all. The only thing I would say about when Mike was talking about the final harvest, getting out the biomass, when he was saying the lilies won't grow back, he meant the lilies won't grow back that season. They come back the final year. It's not that they're killing the lilies. They come back, but not in that fall. They'll come back the next season. So, and I think that's it. Michael Canales did a great job of covering it all.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Anything else? Any other business?
I want to follow up on the biomass thing because, you watch the harvester come out and there's a lot of biomass that is not falling down to the bottom of the lake. It seems to me that that's significant, and I don't know if there's some way to quantify it.
Yeah, how do they measure it? By cubic meters or cubic yards?
Yeah, I don't know.
We gotta find out.
Do you put it in a dump truck? What do you do?
No, it gets taken by the town highway department
Okay,
and given to, I think they bring it to a landscaper
Yeah.
who buys it all.
oh,
Yeah,
Great
figure out
fertilizer.
how much, I mean, when they.
No, I understand that, but you're gonna have to talk to Hugh to figure that out. But what I'm trying to say, Sally, is whatever you cut regrows. So if you never cut it, it would be the same. I could be wrong. This is my theory. But whatever you cut, whatever you don't cut isn't going to die and regrow that season. So if you didn't do anything, so the key is to cut it, make sure we cut as much at the very end when they can't regrow, as Pat said, for that season.
They're not gonna die off during.
So yes, so they're not going to die off in the water. So the lilies, even though I cut them, we cut them and everything to give people the ability to get out and enjoy the lake and everything like that. But I'm thinking that the only thing that makes a difference is the last cut. When we cut them, take them away, and they don't come back for the season. Do you know what I mean? Or am I not,
For the next.
I know what you mean, but I'm.
No, for that
not sure
season.
that-
They'll come back the next season.
That's,
It's not that they come back, it's
Yeah.
how much you take out.
yeah.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So when you take it out and they don't come back for that season, they're not going to die because they've been cut.
If you never harvested the mass that's there at the end of the season would be the same.
It would be the same, even if you cut, you cut, 10, whatever it is. I don't think they keep growing and it like grows out of the lake. I mean, there's a limit to what they grow. It's not like hair. I
Well, they do
don't.
grow to be a mat at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure part of what you're saying is very true, is very correct. I'm just saying that for me, the most important thing is that September, when we can really take as much out.
But it seems that it would be wise if we could figure out some way to quantify.
Easy. Measure the hopper. And
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
that'll-
Oh, yeah.
that'll-
If
It's
we're
not a
gonna try and
difficult
make a
concept.
case for
Yeah.
the VP.
Right.
um,
Well, we can do that this year,
That we're
Sally.
not letting silt go back, you know,
Yeah.
this biomass go back into the lake. It would seem to me that maybe someday that might.
That would
be
help,
useful.
right?
You're gonna have a lot of cubic yards
We,
there.
we can do that. We can have every time we go out, we can figure out the measurement, the volume, the height, the width, the depth, and give a volume of how much we collected.
It's a good idea. At least it'll be a rough estimate.
Yeah, well, that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Okay.
Might give us a little, leg up with these people.
Maybe.
All right. Any other business?
I want to readdress the idea of swimmers.
Swimmers, okay?
Okay, and the fact that swimmers are supposed to have boats with them if they go, I don't know the exact how far out.
And they're
Putting-
buoyed around the.
Yeah, we're gonna be putting them in over the next 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah,
depending on when the boat club gets their ducks in.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that's happening.
well, I mean, so boats are supposed to accompany swimmers across if they're going out beyond that.
Unless they have a swimmer's football with them.
Just pat.
Well, if they have a swimmer's football, that's okay.
Yeah.
Little box.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I mean, I didn't know the rule. I mean, I don't swim
That's
across
not
the
a-
lake.
That's not a written rule. We've adopted that one.
Okay, well, I would like to see a sign, maybe at the beach. Where do people go in?
Anywhere.
Well, putting up,
They go, we have a lot of people swimming off Crapalo, and I've talked to the people there, and I think we're gonna get them to
oh,
get
that's right, you were gonna get them to get,
we're trying to get them to get about a half a dozen footballs for people that want to swim any distance out. At the boat ramp, if they're going out swimming deep, our people tell them.
Do you think that by doing that, we're sort of giving a false sense of safety for these people swimming out? In other words, I was in the business of safety. We did sports and whatever. And 3M asked me to come and do something for children, reflective. And we came to the conclusion that we didn't want to do it because we didn't want to give the kids a false sense that if they wear something reflective, they're going to be seen or they can. And I know that these are adults that we're talking about, but I'm just asking if you think.
Let's tell you what, I'll try to get a hold of one of those. I think my cousin has one. We'll go out and we'll just play around with it. We'll have somebody swimming with that and we'll just see how.
Yeah, but I was just
visible it is.
wondering if more people will go out because they have it. That's all.
No, I think there's certain people that like to swim.
I've stopped so many people and they've all right ever, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
It also depends on how choppy the lake is,
Yeah.
whether you can see it.
But they're
or not.
pretty, I mean, they're pretty visible from the shore.
Yeah.
If they're out there.
Right, because they're bright.
Because they're right there.
They're bright oranges, yep.
Some places have committed to buying the footballs for their swimmers. Is that what
Okay.
you suggested? I took a look at the beach today and there's a swim at your own risk part of the rules. I wonder whether footballs are required, and we have to balance what you're saying in terms of giving full sense of security, but it seems to me swim at your own risk, but at a minimum, you gotta have the football is not a bad idea to balance those two.
That's a good idea.
I would like to say some signage
Signage.
of some kind saying that this should be done. I wouldn't know how to word it. Maybe Gary would not like to do that.
Get enough signs at the.
Well, you gotta advise people.
We've been telling people that are
There's no
swimming.
swimming. You can't get more.
Boat ramp.
Yeah,
Technically, there's no swimming, right?
you can't get much more. What?
What do you do at the beach? People are unaware of that.
Yeah, that's my point exactly.
I think most of the swimmers come from Crapalo.
I think
There are a few from Tanglewood, but most of them come from
And there's a
Copperalo.
group that comes from somewhere south. I don't know if they come from the beach or they come from
There's-
Beechwood.
Yeah,
Could we see them?
oh, okay.
There's a
group of 5, 6 or
contingent
7
that-
of them that
Are
go
we-
by.
Are we talking about, and we might be talking about two different things here. Are we talking about people that are swimming?
Out in the middle of the lake.
across the-
Yeah, out
in the middle of the lake?
Yeah,
Yeah.
swim the
So
lake to the lake.
is there, I mean, we can't prohibit that or try to make a movement that they have to stay within. I mean, my concern is also for the boater who hits one of these people.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? In other words, okay, the swimmer, if they want to be, it's fine, but the boater shouldn't have to be put in that position
Right.
to deal with an injured person because this injured person decides to go in the middle of the lake
Right, but if
where
they-
there are all these,
If they do that without wearing their football the way they should,
no, I understand that.
you know, we
Right.
can't, we
Right.
can't.
No, of course you
Plan
can't,
for
but
every possible-
I'm also thinking about it takes two, the person who's injured and the boater who's gonna be like, wow, what do I do now? What do I, this is so unnecessary for someone. There's plenty of parameter around the lake where you can swim.
Yeah, but it's full of weeds.
No, well, then give it more distance. No. Then give it deeper.
Yeah.
That's fine. I
No,
understand.
and I
Another
think
20 feet
there's a whole
deeper.
thing now about people swimming in free water. It's a new fad.
Yeah.
They've got 300 feet from the shoreline.
Yeah.
If they're out toward the 300 feet, there are no weeds
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I think you are incredibly foolish to be swimming across the lake.
Yeah, but that's a given, without a doubt, that we're all in agreement.
yeah,
I'm talking now,
Nobody's talking about prohibiting it.
no, you can't.
Yeah, we
Apparently,
can't.
yeah.
I don't think we
But,
can.
I think all you can do is educate people that you need to have
We've provided you with a safe lane.
The
Yeah.
state
Use it.
regulation is if you swim outside the 300-foot marker, you have to have a boat accompany you.
Yes,
Oh, is that
Okay.
state?
yes.
So there you go.
That's state.
And we've kind of said, okay, you can have a football with you.
No,
I like the boat thing,
I
I
think.
think you have to have a boat.
I agree with
And they won't-
or
Sally.
a paddle board or something.
But
Well, that's their own goddamn fault.
It is.
Yeah.
Get hit by a boat.
I've had
It's stupid.
knockdown arguments with people about it.
You can't fix
You need to
stupid.
have a laminated, give the state regulation on your boat.
I mean,
They don't give a damn.
no, they're arrogant is the
Yeah.
crazy. That's the craziness. I've stopped people in the middle of the lake. I said, look, you can still swim here, just it's really dangerous. Don't tell me what to do. Don't, none of your business.
Well,
I've been doing
you
this for 30 years.
Yeah, whatever.
can say that it is the state law that you have to have a boat with you.
Sally.
And there
I
are
can
fines of $50 the first time and $100 the second time. That's what it says in our bylaw, for doing that.
Anyways,
So Gary, would you go out with your
Think
ticket?
about this.
Because I think that even if you're within the 300-foot safety zone, that the football is a good
Yeah,
idea. But I think once you're outside of the 300-foot safety zone, if you don't have a boat, you're an idiot.
well, you're going against the law, aren't
Let
you?
me talk to
Yeah.
the state
So-
police and find out what they're.
Yeah.
And then do you want to bring that back the next
Because
meeting?
one
Yeah,
thing
we
we
will.
could do is maybe like ask all the associations
Oh,
around the
that's a good
lake
idea.
to say something at their meeting, because almost all of them have a meeting
Yeah.
at
Oh, that's
the beginning of the
in
season.
the summer, okay.
And the second homeowners meeting.
Right.
Sally, if all the boats were electric or pontoons with 25 horsepower or whatever, I wouldn't even worry. But we have a lot of fast boats from out of town.
Oh,
Not that many.
You know better than I do, but
There's
the
enough.
camp, the young kids in the camp,
Mackinac guys go,
what?
the Mackinac water skiers.
Right. I mean, their eyes are on, they're not looking really.
No, they're not.
No.
right.
No, I,
That's a good idea. Well, Gary will get back to us. I like Philip's
I
idea.
have to say that they're pretty good, given that it's a bunch of kids out there with
Yeah.
water skier.
We're talking about the swimmers.
I
They're
get it.
very good with their own,
No, I get it.
but
But
it's not easy.
I think that generally speaking, they're very responsible, but But yes, you're right. They're watching their skier because that's their primary
That's their
objective.
responsibility,
A
absolutely.
Sunday, on a nice Sunday afternoon, it's like a slalom course out there. There's the kayaks and paddle boards all over the place, especially when like Kripalu comes out with 35 and Canyon Ranch comes in with 15 and the Arcadian shop has they're just all over the place.
And they come right through the sailboats
Yep.
at the boat club, which is just like when we're having a
Sacred-
race, they come
sacred
right through.
waters.
And there are kids in the water and they come right through and the kids are in the water. It's like, honestly, people, there are swimmers
Put a
there,
rope around it.
but then you can't get the boats out.
Open on the side, leave it open in the front. Are we
So
finished?
I think,
We had electronic.
any other business?
That's what they was.
How about a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
So I second it.
Second, all in favor? I think, and the next meeting is May 20th, 5 PM.